They are the Tan Nok Lin Ban sect, Ban Sun sect, Tien Nguyen sect, Tien Cuc sect, Tu Hien Divine Palace, and Dap Tin sect. Among them, Tan Nok Lin Ban sect has been the strongest sect since ancient times. In recent years, Tan Nok Lin Ban sect, as the leader of the 6 major sects, formed an alliance to protect humanity and oppose the demon and ghost tribes. After the great war between the 3 tribes, human, demon, and ghost, the ghost tribe was sealed by powerful cultivators, leading the human and demon tribes to face off. Doc Lang mused. In the original text, it was indeed mentioned that some cultivators from the Tien sect had fallen into the demonic path, doing unspeakable things in the underworld dungeon, but they hadn't yet stirred up any major trouble. But with such rich mission rewards, of course, evil must be eradicated, he thought, suddenly feeling eager. However, the original text had very few descriptions of them, but I roughly know where they are at this moment. Thinking this, he rushed forward. At this moment, on a cliff, a giant octopus was attacking 2 young women. Its tentacles stroked the red-haired girl, and the girl beside her worriedly reminded, "Nu Noyet, be careful, this monster is too strong." Suddenly, another tentacle reached out. It wrapped around the blue-haired girl, who cried out, "Ah!" Over here, the girl named Nu Noyet was also caught. She realized it was trying to drain her spiritual energy. The shameless octopus even said, "Delicious, I still want more, I still want," laughing disgustingly. Infuriated, Nu Noyet thought, "Cursed monster." She jerked her hand free from its tentacles. Then, unexpectedly, she lunged forward, unleashing an unimaginable burst of power, slashing at the octopus before her, angrily shouting, "Die!" The octopus screeched in agony after being struck. After the attack, Nu Noyet hugged the girl beside her and gently asked, "Nu Tuet, are you alright?" Nu Tuet responded, "I'm fine, but it drained quite a bit of my spiritual energy earlier." At that moment, on the cliff opposite the 2 girls, 3 figures appeared. One of them commanded, "The time is ripe, get ready to strike." Doc Lang hid below, observing the entire situation. Hearing them, he suddenly understood, so these 3 evil cultivators were waiting to pick up the spoils. At the same time, he resolved, "This time, I'll make you understand the lesson of seeking short-term gains and forgetting long-term consequences." The 3 evil cultivators then appeared in front of the 2 girls, grinning wickedly. The 2 girls, hearing a strange noise, turned around and asked, "Who's there?" Nu Noyet looked at them, a bit worried, and asked, "Who are you?" The leader sneered at her, "Enough with the nonsense. Blame your bad luck," he laughed arrogantly. The 3 evil cultivators joined forces, creating a powerful energy strike. Seeing this, Nu Noyet hurriedly shielded Nu Tuet behind her, thinking, "My spiritual energy is depleted after that last attack." At that moment, the energy orb flew toward them. Nu Tuet, terrified, clung to Nu Noyet's arm, calling out, "Sister." Nu Noyet shielded her behind her back, reassuring her, "Don't be afraid." Just then, a figure appeared in front of them. Nu Noyet was surprised to see someone take the attack for them, thinking, "He took that blow for us?" They thought he would be beaten down, but Doc Lang remained unscathed, confidently saying, "Luckily, I was on time. To attack people when they're in danger and outnumbered, you truly have no shame." The 3 were angered by his interference and demanded, "Who are you?" But inwardly, they were wary, as he had managed to withstand the combined strike of all 3, his strength clearly not to be underestimated. He ignored them and instead reassured the 2 women beside him, "Don't worry. These 3 evil cultivators want to take advantage of your weakened state to steal your spiritual energy to strengthen themselves." The 2 girls behind him, hearing this, were alarmed. Doc Lang confidently winked at them. "Now that I'm here, I won't let them have their way," he thought. "I've heard that the Tu Hien Divine Palace is composed entirely of female disciples, and most of them aren't interested in men, usually training in pairs." Excitedly, he thought, "Isn't this the legendary Yuri?" In his mind, he was already imagining the 2 girls in an intimate relationship. At that moment, his eyes gleamed even brighter, certain of his speculation. Then, looking at the 3 evil cultivators still there, he returned to seriousness, telling himself, "Let's set these thoughts aside for now. Completing the mission is more important." The leader, seeing Doc Lang ignore them, angrily shouted, "You brat, dare to ruin our plans." All 3 charged at him, yelling, "Then die with them." Doc Lang merely scoffed, casting his own spell. An energy strike knocked them all down. Focusing the spiritual energy in his palm, Doc Lang analyzed, "What's this? These guys are even weaker than the Kim Dong demon bat from before." He then unleashed his technique at the 3 evil cultivators. Waves of golden light continuously struck them. They couldn't react in time and took the full brunt of the attack, screaming in pain. One of them, blood still dripping from his mouth, knew Doc Lang was difficult to deal with. His eyes filled with malice as he pulled out a gourd, opened the lid, and said, "TCH, truly sinister, it seems today I'll have to make you taste some suffering." The gourd opened, releasing a large amount of spiritual energy, which the 3 absorbed. One of them sneered at Doc Lang, "Heh, today you're definitely going to die." After absorbing the spiritual energy, the power of the 3 increased significantly, their bodies emanating terrifying spiritual energy as they rushed into the sky. Doc Lang silently observed everything, gradually understanding. So that's how it is. Their so-called demonic cultivation involves using magical tools to absorb the spiritual energy of cultivators and storing it for their own use. This shortcut is truly something despised by orthodox sects. The two sisters behind him were extremely anxious, and Nu Tuet spoke up to warn, Master, be careful, their cultivation has increased by several levels. Mak Dok Lang smiled calmly and replied, it's fine. Even now, they can't scare me. The three rushed toward him, yelling, you're about to die, and you still dare talk tough. Another one roared aggressively, surrender your life. Three entity unison, demonic flame storm. Mak Dok Lang smiled, and spiritual energy burst from his body, forming a large vortex. He mocked, am I really talking tough? You'll know once you try. He raised his hand, striking the vortex with his palm, quickly sweeping the three demonic cultivators inside and hurling them away. Then with a loud crash, the palm strike hit the cave ceiling, causing a huge explosion, and rubble rained down everywhere. After the strike, the three demonic cultivators were severely injured. They looked at him in disbelief, one of them gasping, what? That was just a palm strike, and it had such power? Behind him, the two women gaped at him in astonishment, thinking, this is nascent soul stage cultivation. After defeating the three, Mak Dok Lang smiled and said, now do you see the gap in cultivation? Today I will act on behalf of the heavens, to eliminate evil. With that, he suddenly rushed forward, grabbing the necks of two of the demonic cultivators in an instant. The remaining one was startled by the scene before him, fear creeping into his heart. He hadn't expected to encounter such a master here. Continuing like this, there was no way to win. He needed to retreat, and think of a way to teach this brat a lesson later. With that thought, he immediately released a cloud of smoke and attempted to flee. Mak Dok Lang's vision was obscured by the smoke, and he guessed that it was a smoke bomb. But as the smoke cleared, he was momentarily shocked to realize, damn it, he's trying to escape. He shouted, hey, stop. But it was futile. The man had disappeared. Meanwhile, back at Lin's group, after Mak Dok Lang left, Mo Dung Ho and Dong Mi had arrived in front of an enormous ancient tree, surrounded by abundant spiritual energy. Mo Dung Ho looked at the scene, worried, and whispered, Chi Lin, are we really okay not waiting for Mak Dok Lang? Chi Lin smiled, reassuring her, it's fine. Who knows how long it will take for him to return. Let's search around. There should still be some good items on the second level. Dong Mi approached the ancient tree, gently touching it to transfer spiritual energy and check. At that moment, a faint heartbeat came from the tree, and Dong Mi exclaimed, this tree doesn't just hold strong spiritual energy, it even has a tree heart. Hearing this, Chi Lin looked over in surprise, wondering what the truth was. She gripped the sword in her hand and said, a tree needs to cultivate for thousands of years to condense a tree heart, so this tree is extremely precious. If we could extract the heart to refine medicine, our cultivation would definitely increase. After saying this, Chi Lin didn't hesitate. She flew up and slashed at the tree with her sword. Dong Mi, seeing this, suddenly cried out in shock, no. Chi Lin also stopped, stunned. What? She looked at the tree in front of her, and suddenly, a terrifying spiritual energy emanated from its body. Mo Dung Ho, standing nearby, clenched her fists and shouted, the spiritual energy fluctuation is too strong. The ancient tree released increasingly powerful waves of spiritual energy. The trunk twisted, and a fierce face with glowing red eyes appeared, looking incredibly eerie. It gritted its teeth and angrily shouted, who dares disturb me? Chi Lin, tense, quickly said, we didn't know the elder was resting. We've offended you. Please forgive us. We will leave immediately. However, the ancient tree wasn't willing to let it go that easily. Its eyes darkened as it sneered, since you've awakened me, stay with me. At that moment, as Chi Lin, Dong Mi, and Mo Dung Ho tried to turn and flee, large amounts of rubble fell from above, blocking their path. Mo Dung Ho, seeing the situation worsen, cried out in panic, it's over, the way out is completely blocked. Taking advantage of their moment of shock, the tree demon suddenly extended vines toward Chi Lin. Chi Lin was startled, slashing the vines apart with her sword and shouting, stay back. Another vine quickly lashed out. It wrapped around Mo Dung Ho, binding her tightly, rendering her unable to move. Then it lifted her into the air, and Mo Dung Ho screamed in terror, no. Seeing this, Dong Mi fearfully realized, could it be a mandala tree? Only a mandala tree's vines can secrete corrosive mucus. This mucus slowly erodes and absorbs everything it touches. I didn't expect it to appear here. Watching Mo Dung Ho being hung up helplessly, Dong Mi continued, if it's a 1,000-year-old mandala tree, I'm afraid none of us can defeat it. Dong Mi quickly cast a spell while shouting to Chi Lin, my lady, block it, save Miss Mo Dung, then together we can break through the giant rock and escape. Just as she finished speaking, a vine suddenly pierced through Dong Mi's shoulder, catching her by surprise. Chi Lin, seeing Dong Mi injured, shouted in panic, Dong Mi. The mandala tree demon pulled Dong Mi closer, sneering wickedly. I've lived for over 1,000 years. Of course I know you plan to burn your golden core to increase your cultivation against me. With that, it used another vine to tightly bind Chi Lin, lifting her into the air. Chi Lin, unable to react in time, screamed, what? She was squeezed tightly by the vines, her body drained of strength. In confusion, she thought, what's happening? Why can't I move at all? The tree demon's face twisted viciously. Did you think I'd let you get your way? None of you will leave here. Stay and become nourishment for me. Merge with me. Chi Lin, squeezed by the vines and drenched in the corrosive fluid, felt extreme discomfort. She realized inwardly, this is mandala poison. Chi Lin suddenly cried out, screaming in desperation, let me go. A vine suddenly lashed toward her like an open mouth. Its tip, like a sharp mouth, bit into Qilin's shoulder, causing her to scream in pain. What is this? As Qilin gradually lost her strength, her vision dimmed, and images began to flash in her mind. Painful memories from the past surfaced. When she had collapsed from injury, it was her father who encouraged her, stand up. It's already hard enough being born of the demon clan, let alone being half human, half demon. The road ahead will surely be difficult. If you cannot control the power of the demon clan, when true despair comes, you'll only fall into a prison of your own making. Qilin sobbed and cried out loudly, Father. At that moment, her body was gradually overtaken by demonic energy. Her consciousness returned to the present, and she suddenly opened her tear-filled eyes. Her gaze became resolute, and her pupils slowly turned an eerie black. Her demonic energy surged as she lightly waved her hand, shattering the vines wrapped around her into countless small pieces. After destroying the vines, her feet gently touched the ground. Qilin's entire body suddenly emitted a terrifying demonic energy, and she took steps forward. She raised her hand and tore apart the vine that had been biting into her shoulder. Then Qilin sneered wickedly and charged straight at the tree demon. The tree demon was shaken, hurriedly deploying more vines to block her path. To its surprise, Qilin destroyed them all with a single blow. She laughed dismissively, tricks. With that, Qilin forcefully plunged her hand into the tree's trunk. Her fingers slowly sank deeper, piercing through the bark. The tree demon screamed in agony, pain, 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 pain. The spiritual energy from the tree demon was gradually absorbed by Qilin. Suddenly, Qilin began to feel a change as the spiritual energy and demonic energy merged, continuously flowing into her body. The tingling sensation was like all the senses in her body being fully activated. Sensing the release of pure spiritual energy, the tree demon hurriedly shouted, This power of absorbing spiritual energy, you're of the demon clan. Stop, stop. It's all a misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding. Qilin still did not stop, disdainfully looking at the tree demon. One word of misunderstanding is enough to make me stop. You're too naive. The tree demon's face darkened, but he could only slowly explain. There was once a powerful demon clan warrior who did me a favor. I promised him I wouldn't strike against anyone from the demon clan. Earlier, you didn't reveal any demon clan aura, so I mistook you for one of those invaders. The underground palace is filled with demonic poison. Inhaling it for too long will damage your meridians. Behind me is a spiritual spring. Soaking in it can heal your wounds, and drinking from it can cleanse your meridians. Looking behind him, there truly was a spiritual spring, with steam rising thickly from the water. But Qilin, still cautious, probed further. But if I kill you, I can still soak in the spring and also claim your tree heart. The tree demon patiently replied, Demon woman, if you want my tree heart, just take it. But after my death, the guardians of this underground palace will awaken. By then, it won't just be about whether you can soak in the spring. The entire palace will be affected. Qilin pondered over the tree demon's words. He didn't seem to be lying. Besides, I can't maintain my current state for much longer. It might be better to let this go. With that thought, she decided to trust the tree demon once, turning toward the spring and casually said, Then I won't take it anymore. As for those two nuisances on the ground, please bring them over for me. Qilin approached and sat down by the edge of the spiritual spring. She scooped up a little water with her hands and drank it. She was surprised when a refreshing sensation spread throughout her body, not expecting it to taste so sweet. As it entered her mouth, a fragrant aroma lingered on her tongue. She wiped the remaining droplets from the corner of her mouth, her face flushing as she thought, My body is starting to heat up. If only Mac Doc Lang were here, he would want to share this warmth with me, she thought while starting to remove her clothes. Then, Qilin slowly stepped into the spiritual spring. As she descended into the spring, the comforting sensation made her sigh in contentment. Every corner of this place was filled with spiritual energy. If I can soak here for a while, it won't just heal my wounds, it'll also help the demon core within my body transform better. Qilin sat down, submerging her body in the water, softly moaning. This feeling was wonderful. She unconsciously glanced back, and at that moment, Dong Ni and Mo Dong Hoa had also been brought to the shore by the tree demon. Then a few small monkeys suddenly leaped down from the trees. To her surprise, they started stripping the clothes off Mo Dong Hoa and Dong Ni. Before anyone could react, in the blink of an eye, they had thrown both of them into the spring. The two, choking on water, surfaced, coughing and spluttering. Qilin, feeling awkward, waved with an embarrassed smile. This left Mo Dong Hoa and Dong Ni staring at each other in confusion, not understanding what was happening. Afterward, she began recounting the previous events to them. After finishing, she casually continued, That's what happened. I don't even know how I broke through. A surge of power completely battered that tree demon and sacrificed this spring for us to enjoy together. Mo Dong Hoa, soaking in the spring, frowned as she pondered power. Could it be the mysterious force that defeated me last time? Dong Ni, enjoying the feeling of the spring, relaxed and said, So comfortable. Before, I thought I was going to die. Hearing this, Mo Dong Hoa let go of her earlier thoughts, relaxing her mind as well. She decided, I'll investigate this later. Suddenly, one of the monkeys leaped up and grabbed Qilin by the shoulder, startling her as she looked at it in confusion. Mo Dong Hoa was also surprised, unsure of what the monkey would do next. The expression on the monkey's face suddenly changed. It went from being cute to blushing perversely. and the grin on its lips showed clear desire as it looked at Qilin. It spread its arms wide, making a gesture that would make any girl blush, but many men wish they were the monkey at this moment. Its sudden action startled both Mo Donghua and Qilin. Mo Donghua, standing nearby, fearfully clutched her chest and screamed. Qilin, closing her eyes tightly, immediately punched the monkey, sending it flying, while using her other hand to cover her chest. Meanwhile, Macdoc Lang, after beating two evil cultivators black and blue, frowned and thought, damn it, he escaped. The system's voice immediately rang out, reminding him, System alert. Progress in eliminating evil cultivators. 2 out of 3, incomplete. Hearing the notification, his expression changed. He was frustrated, thinking, did I just lose 10 favorability points like that? This young lord, already so powerful at such a young age. A soft voice came from behind, instantly attracting Macdoc Lang's attention. He turned around and saw 2 delicate, graceful women with elegant and gentle appearances. The red-haired woman blushed as she shyly looked at him, her graceful gestures revealing her composed demeanor. She was likely a true favorite of the heavens. Upon seeing the 2 women's beauty, his face immediately flushed, his eyes widened, and his mouth hung open as he stared in awe. Wow! But he quickly regained his composure, remembering the image of his own tigress back home. He coughed a few times to calm himself. Ahem, ahem. Macdoc Lang calmly addressed the 2 women. All right, the evil cultivators who ambushed you have been dealt with. His decisive words left the 2 women astonished. Without lingering, Macdoc Lang turned away, flicking his sleeve and saying, let's part ways here. He walked away, closing his eyes and sighing as he thought, sigh, it's pointless. Let's just return to reunite with my wife. The 2 women, feeling somewhat rushed, called out to stop him. The red-haired woman spoke first, saying, thank you for saving us, young lord. We are disciples of the Purple Heaven Divine Palace. I am Nu Noyet, and this is my junior sister, Nu Tuet. Nu Tuet then added, if the young lord doesn't mind, would you like to become the dual cultivation partner of us sisters? Upon hearing this offer, he froze, turning back to look at the 2 sisters, surprised and thinking, what? Isn't it said that the Purple Heaven Divine Palace is only interested in women? Could it be that I'm so handsome I've changed their sexual preferences? Just as he thought that, the 2 sisters threw themselves into his arms, leaving him unsure of how to handle the situation. Nu Noyet, looking delicate, seemed to read his thoughts and said, our sect indeed primarily focuses on dual cultivation with women, but it's not entirely forbidden to cultivate with men. He quickly pushed the 2 of them away, saying, no, there's no need for that. The 2 sisters stared at him in surprise, while he stepped back, waving his hand and saying, I already have a wife. For now, I'm not considering such matters. Given your cultivation level, staying here would be too much for you. You should return to the 1st level and continue training there. We'll meet again if fate allows. With that, he quickly left without looking back, thinking, why has my luck with women gotten so good? Too many concubines, and I won't be able to handle it. After reuniting with Qilin and the others, we resumed our training. 4 days later, he sat in his room, concentrating on cultivating his techniques. Golden energy enveloped him, like sunlight radiating from him. Sensing all the spiritual energy, he contentedly opened his eyes, which now emitted a faint golden glow. Outside, Qilin and Mo Donghua opened the door and entered to see him. Macdoc Lang smiled with satisfaction and said, everyone's cultivation has progressed well these past days. It seems the time has come. Alright, let's prepare to head to the 3rd level of this dark underworld palace. Somewhere on the 2nd level, a ghastly, eerie laugh echoed through the silent, gloomy space, making anyone passing by shiver with fear. The half-demon, who had escaped from Macdoc Lang's pursuit a few days ago, was now brutally stabbing a demon beast to death. Luckily, he hadn't encountered any overly strong demon beasts along the way. He gritted his teeth in frustration, complaining, damn it, I didn't expect things to go so wrong. Not only did I fail to get any benefits, but I even used up this extremely precious demon clan soul spell. The gourd in his hand suddenly emitted a strong purple light, which began engulfing his body. He screamed in agony as the purple aura enveloped him, but still, he firmly thought, but I won't give up so easily. When the purple aura completely entered his body, the half-demon smiled smugly and thought, I'll make that brat die in this dark underworld palace. He roared in fury, filled with resentment, saying, just wait for me. The current power hierarchy pyramid. Lang Li's current cultivation is at the 5th heavenly layer of the nascent soul stage. The male protagonist's current cultivation is at the 2nd heavenly layer of the nascent soul stage. Dong Mi's current cultivation is at the 4th heavenly layer of the golden core stage. Qilin's current cultivation is at the 2nd heavenly layer of the golden core stage. Mo Donghuo's current cultivation is at the 9th heavenly layer of the heart movement stage. After a few days, the entire group led by Macdoc Lang stood in front of the entrance to the 3rd level. He cautiously reminded everyone, ahead lies the entrance to the 3rd level, and within this maze is an incredibly powerful illusion. Qilin, hearing this, crossed her arms and skeptically asked, how do you know that? When Macdoc Lang heard his wife's question, he didn't know how to respond. Just then, Mo Donghua, with eyes shining brightly, saved him. Who would have thought that the 6th prince would be so familiar with the layout of the underworld palace? Surely you must have prepared extensively beforehand. Macdoc Lang awkwardly smiled, scratched his head, and thought up a reasonable excuse, saying, "Ah ha ha ha, it's just that I used to hear my father mention it, so I got curious and researched a bit." Jilin stood behind with her arms crossed, clearly not believing a word but refrained from asking further, simply giving him a side glance and remarking, "Liar." After giving thorough instructions, he led the way into the labyrinth. The scenery gradually unfolded before him. Just as described in the original text, it was a bustling street, and the three great demons would be hiding among the crowd. As the scene became clearer, he cautiously looked around, observing his surroundings. By the roadside, a meat vendor holding skewers of grilled rabbit meat called out incessantly to Mac Doc Lang's group, "Rabbit meat, premium grilled rabbit meat, and spicy rabbit heads. Want to give it a try?" The vendor approached Mac Doc Lang, patting him on the shoulder with a smile. "Come on, try my grilled rabbit, it's delicious." This unexpected touch made him a bit wary. He accepted the skewer of rabbit meat from the vendor, examining it carefully. The vendor cheerfully said, "No need to be polite, try it. You don't have to buy anything." He then quickly handed out portions of the grilled meat to the others. "You try it too, no need to be shy." Dong Mi and Mo Dung Ho happily accepted, but when it was Chi Lin's turn, Mac Doc Lang immediately intervened, smiling and saying, "My wife is pregnant, she can't eat that." Upon hearing this, Chi Lin's face darkened, and she suddenly felt the urge to kill him. Sensing the dangerous aura emanating from his lioness of a wife, he smiled and ate the skewer himself, signaling to calm the monster lurking inside her. A ba, he wanted to convey to Chi Lin, "Let your husband test the poison for you." The vendor, seeing him enjoy the food so much, smiled contentedly. Looking over at Dong Mi and Mo Dung Ho, the vendor's smile twisted. Dong Mi, face flushed and tears streaming down, couldn't bring herself to eat the skewer, sobbing, "Rabbits are so cute. How could anyone eat rabbit meat?" Hearing this, Mac Doc Lang sighed internally, thinking, "Even tea masters can't compare to you." In contrast to Dong Mi's tearful reluctance, Mo Dung Ho was eating heartily. Her expression made Mac Doc Lang wonder, it seems some people really are thick-skinned. Suddenly, the system screen appeared before him, displaying, "Souls liberated, 0/200, mission reward, upgrade to access privileges for the blessed heavenly grotto." Seeing the system notification, he was somewhat startled. Looking at the mission notice, he thought in confusion, "Liberate souls?" The original text never mentioned souls. Why has the system been assigning such strange side missions lately? Just as he was pondering this, a woman in the distance hurriedly ran towards him. She screamed in fear, "Young master, save me." Behind her were two men dressed in clothes that covered their faces, warning him, "We're here to rob. We advise you not to meddle." Seeing her being chased, Chi Lin wasted no time and immediately rushed in to beat up the bandits, catching the woman by surprise. Taking advantage of the moment, the woman rushed into his arms, weakly saying, "Young master, I'm so scared." He stood there stiff and stunned. This illusion was indeed very dangerous. Her actions instantly drew dagger-like glares from Chi Lin and Mo Dung Ho. "What are you doing?" Not letting her cling to him any longer, Mo Dung Ho quickly stepped forward to separate them. Her voice sharp, she said, "Don't you know men and women shouldn't touch each other? And who are you anyway?" Hearing Mo Dung Ho's interrogation, he half-heartedly glanced at her, thinking, "You, of all people, a notorious flirt, have the nerve to lecture someone else." The woman, upon hearing Mo Dung Ho's question, gave a seductive smile and said, "Thank you for saving me, young master. I am Na-san, the young mistress of Hai Tang House just ahead. If the young master doesn't mind, you are welcome to rest there. I will make sure to take good care of you." Chi Lin stepped forward, standing between the two, and coldly said to Na-san, "Very well, lead the way." Na-san bowed with difficulty and said, "Earlier, I twisted my ankle while running, and now I can't walk. Young master, could you carry me?" Seeing Na-san's revealing attire, Chi Lin scoffed, "No need to trouble my husband, I can handle this." Everything was quickly resolved when they bought a donkey for Na-san to ride on, while he, with a darkened face, led the donkey forward. "Why am I the one leading it?" Mo Dung Ho, walking beside Chi Lin, laughed and praised her. "Sister Chi Lin is really impressive." Chi Lin smirked confidently and said, "When it comes to dealing with suspicious people like her, I know exactly what to do." They left without realizing that danger was lurking behind them. He seemed to sense something suspicious about the rabbit meat. Not far away, he smiled in satisfaction, pulling out a purification card capable of neutralizing side effects, thinking to himself with a sneer, "Who knows what's in this illusion, but that rabbit meat is definitely not simple." But he sighed, thinking, "It's unfortunate I only have one purification card. That thick-skinned person might not die too quickly, since in the original text, they lived through several hundred chapters." At Hai Tang House, a lavish feast had been prepared. Na-san entered, smiling and gesturing for Mac Doc Lang's group. "This feast is a token of gratitude for the young master's help. If you don't mind, you can stay at my place for a few days." He entered cautiously, looking around. Chi Lin followed, her eyes scanning the room, frowning in suspicion. A brothel this large and yet not a single person in sight? She leaned into Mac Doc Lang's chest and whispered a warning, "Something strange here, be careful." After giving that warning, Mac Doc Lang's group sat at the table, and Na-san immediately clapped her hands. "Bring in the girls to entertain us." At her signal, the curtains were drawn aside. A group of graceful dancers, dressed in sheer, alluring garments, stepped out with seductive smiles. One of the dancers, face flushed, introduced herself. I am Xiao Ti. The other two followed suit. I am Nan Lang, I am a that. Xiao Ti seductively offered to play a melody for them. As soon as she finished speaking, her slender fingers gently strummed the strings of her instrument, and the enchanting sound began to fill the air. Nan Lang and A that gracefully joined in the melody, their flexible bodies swaying to the sensual dance, blending with the captivating music as if trying to enchant the onlookers. Mak Dok Lang sat below, smiling broadly despite his wife's piercing gaze from behind him, raising his cup and saying, "Play on, dance on." Na-san, hiding in the background, smirked with satisfaction, thinking, another one who was easily swayed by his desires. After a while, Qilin struggled to drag the drunken Mak Dok Lang back to their room. Once she laid him on the bed, she let out a sigh of relief. Her eyes lingered on his sleeping face, deep in thought. Perhaps it had been a long time since she looked at her husband's face while he slept. She was a little surprised by it now. Qilin stared at him, admiring. Looking closely, this guy's face is actually somewhat handsome. As she was absorbed in gazing at him, he suddenly did something that startled her. Her face flushed red, and she frowned as she glared at him. Mak Dok Lang opened his eyes and smiled at her, asking, "Have you looked enough, my wife?" Qilin jumped in shock and stammered, You weren't drunk?" Realizing she had been tricked and taken advantage of, she angrily gritted her teeth and said, "Do you want me to kill you?" Seeing her head nearly steaming with rage, the lioness about to roar and tear him apart, he obediently sat up, waving his hands in explanation. "My wife, don't get worked up. I didn't mean to. It was all to avoid losing out to that old witch." Surprised, she looked at Mak Dok Lang in confusion and asked, "Old witch?" He rubbed his chin with a smirk. "Yes, ever since we entered this illusion, I haven't been able to sense any demon energy. Those 3 demons must be hiding their energy somehow. With the enemy hidden and us exposed, what do you think they'll do?" Hearing this, Qilin rubbed her chin and thought, "They will surely try to get close to us to achieve their goals." Mak Dok Lang crossed his arms and looked at Qilin with satisfaction. "Exactly. Since we entered, the rabbit meat vendor and this Haitang house mistress Na-san are the most suspicious. We still don't know what's wrong with that rabbit meat, so we'll have to probe this Na-san's abilities first. Tonight, I plan to sneak into her room to find some clues." Upon hearing Mak Dok Lang's explanation, Qilin recalled the rabbit meat earlier when he said she was pregnant. Her face instantly turned red with embarrassment, and she looked away, saying, "The rabbit meat, but didn't you also eat it too? Moreover, you went alone to her room. If she really is a demon, wouldn't it be very dangerous if you were discovered?" Mak Dok Lang, hearing her talk about the rabbit meat, laughed and said, "Rest assured, my dear, I secretly spat it out afterward." Realizing she had misunderstood him, Qilin became even more embarrassed. "So, it was because he didn't want me to eat the rabbit meat that he said that. I had misunderstood him." Mak Dok Lang smirked coldly and said, "As for going into Na-san's room, I already had a plan." After coming up with the plan, in Na-san's bedroom, she staggered toward the bed. At this moment, Dok Lang had transformed into a brush used for writing. He was still full of confidence. Who could have guessed that he would turn into such an inconspicuous brush? He really was too clever. While happily indulging in his smug thoughts, suddenly she stopped walking. This table. How did I end up here? Not knowing what Na-san was planning, her cheeks flushed, and she picked up the brush, her eyes looking quite unusual. Dok Lang couldn't help but panic inside. Have I been discovered? No. She tried to regain her footing and sat on the bed. Na-san lifted the brush to her chest, while he was still confused, not understanding her actions. What is she trying to do? Her voice trembled, lips tightly pressed together. There haven't been any interesting men here lately. These long nights make it hard to endure, she muttered to herself. At this point, only a fool wouldn't know what she wanted. Dok Lang was moved lower. Surprised, he mentally questioned her. Sister, you're really that thirsty, huh? Na-san furrowed her brows, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment, and ambiguous sounds escaped her mouth. Unfortunately, the scene was censored, leaving us to imagine for ourselves. Her legs curled up, and her body leaned back, while he was tightly held between her fingers. Hey, don't do this, Dok Lang gasped amidst this mesmerizing scene. Unable to resist the beauty before him, he immediately transformed back into human form, his face red as if it had been boiled. This is bad, I got too excited and transformed back. Na-san was equally startled by the sudden appearance of a man while she was engaging in such intimate actions, thoroughly humiliated. Dok Lang, flustered, pushed her away, completely disoriented. He staggered back, fleeing as fast as the wind. Oh, how seductive the moonlight was tonight. I didn't expect to get lost. I need to leave now. He picked up his legs and bolted. Seeing this, Na-san angrily commanded, Stop. He froze, unconsciously obeying, not daring to move. You've seen everything, and now you want to run away? It's not that easy, young man. He thought she was going to punish him for peeking, but to his surprise she, still brimming with desire, lifted her skirt, her face flushed, inviting Dok Lang. If the night is long, why not stay with me, young master? Of course, he would never do such a thing. Hastily, he turned and continued to flee before it was too late. No need for that. My wife is waiting for me. Just as his hand reached the door handle, the shadow behind him grew closer. Her aura had completely changed, and the atmosphere around them shifted. Na-san questioned, "You've come this far, so why leave now?" Doc Lang, anxious, didn't dare move. She flew into a rage, revealing her true aura. "Isn't it good to stay with me?" Judging by her demeanor, he quickly realized this was the aura of a nascent soul stage cultivator, 4th level. At the most critical moment, Qilin appeared, flinging the door open. The scene looked no different from a wife catching her husband cheating, except she knew he was on a mission. She frowned and shouted, "I've been waiting for you for so long, and you haven't come out." Of course, something's up. Dong Mi supported the struggling Mu Rongho as they approached from behind Qilin. Dong Mi worriedly reported, "Master, Miss Mu Rong is not well." Her entire face was flushed, her consciousness slipping away, muttering and groaning, "Ha ha, my body's too hot." It was Doc Lang's first time witnessing such symptoms, and he was astonished. What is this? Even Qilin was no less surprised. Na-san had completely transformed, revealing her true nature. Her eyes were as black as a demon's, utterly terrifying. She laughed loudly, "Seems I've reaped an unexpected reward." Hearing her words, Doc Lang immediately understood the cause was from her. He turned to look at her and asked, "What did you do to her?" She covered her mouth and giggled, "Ha ha. It wasn't me. She ate the rabbit meat containing the eggs of the celestial worm. The eggs are now growing inside her, and the rabbit meat has a potent aphrodisiac effect. Soon, she'll be nothing but a puppet controlled by lust. Ever since this underground palace opened, all cultivators who came here have become part of my collection. You will all meet the same fate," she gleefully pointed at them. At the same time, a group of abnormal women had already surrounded them. There was no way out. He looked at her and thought, so all the cultivators who tried to ascend the levels have died at her hands. After considering a strategy, he glanced at Dong Mi, "Find a way to control Mu Ronghoa and get her out." She agreed without hesitation, understood. Immediately, Mu Ronghoa was forcefully restrained. She writhed, resisting. After dealing with that, Doc Lang, filled with killing intent, angrily approached Na-san, saying, "My dear, you take care of those 3 minions. I'll handle their boss." Na-san was thrilled, as her opponent was arrogant and confident. "You talk big, brat. What can a mere 2nd-level nascent soul cultivator like you do?" The ground beneath her cracked under her immense power. Na-san flew towards Doc Lang, intending to attack, but he effortlessly dodged her claws. She was surprised by his quick reflexes. This guy. His movements were strange, like an eel. Every one of Na-san's attacks was easily dodged by Doc Lang with incredible ease. She gritted her teeth in frustration. After evading several attacks, he immediately grew concerned about Qilin's situation. "My dear, are you alright?" As expected from his wife, she easily defeated the weaklings. "Just a few minions, and they dare dream of defeating me?" Na-san's eyes gleamed with danger as she looked at the bodies scattered across the ground. She used some sort of power to make them rise with vacant eyes, moving like machines. "Don't be hasty, the real show is yet to come." She laughed loudly, "Ha ha," and those she had defeated quickly stood up again, this time even stronger. Qilin, witnessing the unbelievable scene, was shocked. What's going on?" Suddenly, a system voice echoed in his ear, updating the task progress. "Liberating the souls, 3 out of 20. Doc Lang was surprised. Why is the task progress advancing now? "I see, so liberating souls means this." After grasping the situation and understanding how to complete the task, he loudly called to her, "My dear, these bodies are just puppets controlled by those demons. She's imprisoned the souls of cultivators inside them to manipulate them. Once their soul energy is depleted, she'll replace them with fresh souls." Na-san was thrilled that someone had discovered her scheme. "Didn't expect you to figure it out, but so what? They're just dead people. Keep struggling all you want." Na-san unleashed another strike, but this time it seemed much stronger than before. She confidently said, "You were lucky to dodge earlier. Let's see how you avoid this," she said, throwing sharp projectiles at him. Doc Lang stood still as they flew toward him, seemingly about to injure him. But to everyone's surprise, with just a quick flip, he dodged everything, as easily as eating a meal. After seeing him effortlessly evade her attack like that, the pressure around her grew heavier. She was slightly worried about Doc Lang's true power, and nervously swallowed a gulp of air. Gulp. Seeing how easy everything was, he mocked her, sticking his tongue out teasingly. Being mocked like that was something Na-san couldn't accept, and she furiously shouted, "All you can do is dodge?" Qilin and Mac Doc Lang remained motionless, observing. She was controlling the puppets, sending them to attack with an ominous dark aura filling the room, dimly lit only by the light from the doorway. Qilin remained calm, her eyes darkened. From below, the view around her was tinged with a deep blood-red hue. She uttered, "Just 3 golden core stage 4, nothing more." Na-san burst into loud laughter upon hearing that, her face flushed with satisfaction. "I didn't expect you to be a half-demon who hasn't fully awakened yet. How fortunate I am to encounter such a rarity like you." Her hands were now fully revealed, with terrifyingly sharp purple claws. Mac Doc Lang immediately turned stiffly to look at Qilin, the woman on his side. A dark, powerful aura seemed to emanate from her. He noticed the system's notification, Golden Core Stage 4 Cultivation, dark value at 44%, favorability decreased by 60. He thought, heavens, why did her dark value increase again? She immediately smiled, her eyebrows furrowed, and her hand seemed to absorb the dark energy as she shouted, "If it's just a puppet, then just destroy it." Sensing the gravity of the situation, he quickly grabbed her hand to stop her. "My lady, you can't. If you destroy the puppet, its soul will be destroyed too. You can only free them by exhausting their soul energy." She suddenly looked at him in surprise. At this moment, Na-san, having completely lost control, pointed directly at the two of them and commanded the puppets, "Capture them alive for me." The puppets quickly moved, rushing toward the two, creating purple streams of air in the sky. Na-san laughed triumphantly, "Especially that woman. Don't harm her body. As for the man, losing an arm or a leg doesn't matter." Qilin sneered, "Humph," with a disdainful tone. She immediately absorbed the red light into her hand, forming an extremely bright energy orb. She unleashed the attack toward the approaching puppets, then shouted, "These petty puppets think they can challenge me?" Suddenly, Na-san launched a sneak attack, a rope darting toward her at lightning speed, catching her off guard. Na-san shouted, "What about me?" In the face of danger, MacDoc Lang quickly leaped forward to block the attack, causing a significant and unexpected shockwave. The impact was so strong that he collapsed in pain. Qilin, worried, immediately shouted, "Are you okay?" At that moment, he smiled contentedly and reassured her, "I'm fine. Taking the blow for my lady is what I should do." Tuka suddenly appeared with a notification about Qilin. Her favorability rose to -30, and the system granted a reward, an ultimate treasure, the Red Dragon Spirit Sword. Indeed, a gleaming red sword appeared, accompanied by a message, "May the host succeed in completing the mission soon." The system continued with instructions for him, explaining that the ultimate treasure was forged by a top-level weapon master, using the flesh and blood of the Red Dragon during its nascent soul stage, fused with celestial black steel. Seeing the power of the reward, he thought, indeed, the pain and suffering strategy worked. At that moment, beneath Jilin's feet lay numerous fallen police officers, and she stomped forcefully. From the corpses, a red aura rose toward Jilin, her entire body emitting a soft light as she absorbed it. Na-san, not understanding what was happening, shouted, "What are you doing?" Suddenly, the thin streams of energy formed red and black streaks that surged into Jilin's body, lifting the puppets as well. Ever since the mandala tree incident, her body had been feeling hungry. Unexpectedly, after absorbing these souls, she felt her body becoming full again. The scene astonished MacDoc Lang, making him wonder, since when did she fully grasp the soul-absorbing ability of the demon clan? His expression could not hide his surprise. Realizing something was wrong, Na-san flew into a rage, generating radiant purple energy, ready to attack. She yelled, "Stop!" Only now did she realize that if all the soul energy was absorbed, the puppets would become useless. She rushed forward, clawing fiercely, creating an immense force. "I can't let her continue," she thought, as MacDoc Lang immediately leapt up to block the attack, forming a golden shield in front of him, and said, "Everyone in this illusionary realm is just an ordinary puppet you've created. Controlling them daily consumes a lot of your demonic power. This means, even though you're at Nascent Soul Stage 4, your attacks only have the strength of Nascent Soul Stage 2. Hearing his remark, Na-san smirked arrogantly, her hand still poised for combat with energy surrounding it, affirming her intention to fight him. With a human body and a snake's tail, she conjured a sharp sword radiating an extremely dark energy. She continued, "I still have more." She charged directly, her mind set on a swift victory, only to see him standing there. She swung the sword in a slicing motion, but he easily dodged it. He even thought, this direct attack is far too predictable. Then, he drew a sword from his body, releasing a golden red light that spread everywhere. The sword was newly bestowed by the system, and he thought, perfect timing, I can try out this new weapon. He slashed a swift, white gold blade across her, creating a sharp, fast sword strike. Inside Na-san's cave, her ragged clothes trembled under MacDoc Lang's blade. "I didn't expect you to be this strong. Clearly, you're only at Nascent Soul Stage 2, so how?" She looked closely at the blade's tip in front of her. Her eyes suddenly changed, a mix of fear and disbelief as she said, "This is the Red Dragon Spirit Sword. Isn't it only a purine body that can withstand the true Dragon Spirit Flame?" Na-san stared at him in shock and exclaimed, "You have a purine body? How can a purine body cultivate? Who exactly are you?" MacDoc Lang calmly looked at her and said, "Who I am has nothing to do with you. On the contrary, you're the one who's killed so many. Today, I will eliminate you to rid the world of your evil." Upon hearing this, Na-san gritted her teeth in anger, her whole body trembling. She suddenly laughed coldly, looking at MacDoc Lang and said, "Ha, rid the world of evil. Have you humans ever spared my demon clan? Everything of mine was stolen by you despicable humans." As soon as she finished speaking, the system's notification rang in his ears again. Side mission complete. Soul release progress 20 out of 20. Congratulations, host. You have gained access to the Blessed Land Cave Abode. MacDoc Lang felt a sudden jolt. Behind him, Qilin suddenly erupted with power, her body engulfed in flames. She immediately clutched her abdomen and collapsed to the ground, prompting MacDoc Lang to turn around in worry and say, "My lady, what's happening to you?" Sitting in a corner, Na-san laughed loudly, "Ha ha ha, she's a half-demon. Once she absorbed the soul energy of my 3 ghost spirits, including my demonic power, Her body couldn't possibly withstand it. Soon she'll die from bleeding out of her 7 orifices. Makdok Lang, filled with concern, rushed over and cradled Jilin in his arms, hastily leaving. Seeing her in pain, he gently comforted her. My lady, I'll take you out of the underground palace to find a healer. Though in unbearable pain, Jilin weakly whispered, no, don't, I still want to. Makdok Lang, anxious, quickened his pace as he left. Damn it, almost losing my life here. As he reached the exit and dashed out, he suddenly collided with something. He fell backward due to the impact. Lang Mak stepped in, his face darkened, coldly looking at Makdok Lang. Where do you think you're going? Makdok Lang held Jilin tightly, staring at the man in front of him in surprise and said, are you the rabbit meat vendor? Sensing the aura around him, he thought, it's the aura of Nascent Soul Stage 5. Juka immediately flew out from the space and suggested, the host can place Jilin inside the blessed land cave abode within the ring on your hand. Time flows twice as slow inside. Following Tyuka's suggestion, he anxiously glanced at Jilin. After all, carrying her while battling 2 opponents would be too difficult. He immediately followed Tyuka's advice, placing Jilin into the blessed land cave abode. A flash of light passed before his eyes, and Jilin disappeared from sight. Mak, seeing Makdok Lang place Jilin into the cave, gave a cold smile, his expression filled with killing intent. His voice was chilling as he said, I never expected a nascent soul stage 2 like you to possess a treasure that contains the blessed land cave abode. Looks like you have many valuable things on you. Once I kill you, I'll strip them all off, one by one. Na-san immediately reminded Mak from behind. Mak, don't be careless. This brat is very strange. Not only does he have the red dragon spirit sword, but he also possesses a purine body. Mak ignored Na-san's warning, rushed forward, and coldly, confidently said, running into me is like kicking an iron wall. He then laughed loudly, swinging his blade toward Makdok Lang, Pyoi Tunga Dao. As he finished speaking, his hand movements became faster, continuously slashing toward him. You can't grasp dragon might. A spirit sword without dragon might is just scrap metal in front of me. With that, he charged toward him like a madman. Makdok Lang watched this scene calmly, without a ripple in his heart, as Mak swung his blade. With just 2 simple basic sword strikes, he effortlessly stopped Mak's attack. Makdok Lang, following basic sword techniques, sent Mak flying along with his large blades. He couldn't react or counter at all. Mak's face was now filled with fear, his eyes full of disbelief as he looked at him. This is... Before his eyes was a mighty and majestic dragon, exuding an aura of soaring behind Makdok Lang. He looked at Mak on the ground and sternly said, who said I didn't know? On the 2nd floor, Lang Leet, standing on a stone platform, suddenly froze as if he had sensed something. Startled, he thought, why is there a strong beast pressure coming from inside? Could someone have entered the illusion already? Thinking this, Lang Triad quickly turned around and urgently urged, everyone, we must hurry. On this side, Na-san and Mak were both stunned, staring at the red dragon spirit sword. Just one glance caused Mak to break into a cold sweat as he thought. With 2 golden beads on its forehead, it must at least be in the red dragon divide spirit stage. Even though it's just a dragon spirit, it could still crush us. But he clearly only has cultivation in the nascent soul 2nd heaven, so how can he summon a dragon spirit? Clearly, only those in the divide spirit stage can do this. Could it be he's using some treasure to hide his true cultivation? Realizing he couldn't win, Mak knelt on the ground, bowing his head and said, we were blind to your greatness and have offended you, senior. I'll hand over the antidote for the heavenly machine worm and the key to the 3rd level, only asking for our lives to be spared. Na-san, sitting behind, anxiously said, Mak, don't forget we still bear the imprint. Hearing her mention the imprint, Makdok Lang raised an eyebrow with interest and asked, the imprint, what is that? Mak, upon hearing his question, lowered his face, gritted his teeth, and angrily said, it's a method used by old ancestor Yumin to control us. Na-san, choking with emotion, added from behind, he massacred our Hua Snake clan. He placed the imprint on us, forcing us to guard this underground palace forever. She recalled the past, unable to contain her pain and resentment as she recounted the story to Makdok Lang. In agony, Mak removed his helmet, revealing the imprint on his head. This is the imprint. Bound by it, we cannot leave the underground palace unless we die. If you don't kill us and take the key, the fire of the imprint will continue to burn our golden cores until our cultivation is completely exhausted. He hurriedly presented the key and antidote. Looking at him, Mak said, even if you kill us, I don't want to give up just yet. Perhaps there is another way to survive. Makdok Lang accepted the antidote and key, looked at the 2 of them, and asked, how can the imprint be removed? Mak stepped forward, holding Na-san in his arms. Upon hearing the question, she looked over and replied, by receiving the inheritance and destroying the old ancestor's corpse. Hearing this, Makdok Lang frowned and thought, if I can take this opportunity to turn these 2 powerful creatures into my subordinates, wouldn't that be killing 2 birds with 1 stone? Thinking this, he smiled at them and said, I have a condition. If you agree, I won't kill you, and I will help remove the imprint. Upon hearing this, both of their expressions immediately changed. Na-san, irritated, said, we've already given you the key and antidote. What more do you want? His face immediately turned cold, and Tae Mak, startled, looked at his expression. The sword in Mak Dok Lang's hand silently glided across Na San's neck, causing her to break out in cold sweat. He coldly looked at the two of them and said, "Don't forget, you are in no position to negotiate with me. Agree or don't agree, in other words, live or die. The choice is yours." Concerned for Na San, Tae Mak quickly said, "We agree." Hearing this, Mak Dok Lang was satisfied, sheathing his sword and activating his spiritual energy, smiling as he said, "This is a master-servant contract. After your blood is dropped on it, if the conditions are met, it will take effect. From then on, you will become my servants, obeying my orders. If you defy me, you will suffer backlash and your soul will scatter." As soon as he finished speaking, the contract appeared on their foreheads. The contract gradually fused into their bodies. After successfully signing the contract, Mak Dok Lang folded his arms and looked at them, saying, "By the way, where is the other demon?" Hearing his question, Tae Mak immediately took out a sleeping rabbit and said, "A while ago, Xiaodo suffered backlash during cultivation, so it's currently unconscious. I'm afraid it can't sign a contract with you." He looked down at the rabbit, as if recalling something. Clapping his hands, he said, "Oh, I remember now." Thinking for a moment, he waved his hand, and a purple mist enveloped the rabbit. He smiled, thinking, in the original story, this rabbit, due to practicing a strange cultivation technique, appeared to suffer backlash, but in reality it was on the verge of a breakthrough. Unfortunately, it was killed by Lang Li before it could succeed. Na San, standing next to him, observed his actions and thought, with a purine body, like a cauldron that can produce endless energy, this energy can combine with spiritual energy to greatly enhance cultivation speed. But it also seems like a curse. Those with purine bodies have never been able to cultivate successfully. After finishing his work, he turned around and smiled before leaving, saying, "I've transferred some energy to her, which will help her recover. You two should quickly adjust yourselves to face the upcoming fierce battle." Hearing this, Tae Mak hurriedly replied, "Thank you." Mak Dok Lang turned and smirked, thinking, judging by the time, Lang Li and his group should be arriving soon, and this rabbit is also about to break through. Let's give Lang Li a little surprise. Let's hope that brat doesn't disappoint me. Watching him leave, Na San said, "For hundreds of years, not only has no one destroyed that old man's body, but no one has even received his inheritance." She leaned against Tae Mak and continued, "Do you think that brat can pull it off?" Tae Mak, holding her waist, looked at his distant figure and said, "Even if he can't, right now all he has to do is swing his sword, and we would turn to dust." Even Xiaodo has no choice but to gamble. In the room, after returning, he fed the antidote to Mo Dong Hoa, who was lying unconscious on the bed. "This is the antidote. After she drinks it, there should be no more problems." Mak Dok Lang looked at Mo Dong Hoa lying on the bed and said, "Dong Mi, take Mo Dong Hoa out of the underground palace and bring her back to the mansion. I need to go down to the next level with the madam." Dong Mi heard this and replied, "Yes." Inside the heavenly blessed cave, Qilin sat leaning against a tree. Her spiritual energy was leaking uncontrollably, making her pant heavily. She turned, uncomfortable, and looked around. A pair of shoes appeared before her, making her dazed. Mak Dok Lang hurriedly approached, wrapping his arm around Qilin's waist. Observing her current state, he thought, the spiritual energy pouring out of her body is running wild through her meridians. If not treated quickly, her meridians will eventually rupture, leading to her death. The only thing I can do now is to absorb some of that excess spiritual energy, he thought, then immediately pressed his lips to hers, the two of them becoming entangled for a while. As the spiritual energy was partially absorbed, Qilin finally regained her senses, startled. She quickly pushed him away and loudly questioned, "What are you doing?" Seeing that she was now alert, Mak Dok Lang smiled and said, "I just drew out the excess spiritual energy for you." Upon hearing this, Qilin recalled the scene from earlier. Stunned, she covered her mouth. "But why does my dantian feel hotter and hotter?" Thinking about it, she clutched her stomach, her face flushed, unable to speak. Mak Dok Lang suddenly had a mischievous idea, and swiftly pressed Qilin down under the tree. He grabbed her chin and said, "Wife, do you feel a burning heat in your lower abdomen, and your whole body weak?" Hearing this, Qilin blushed and panting, hesitated to respond yes. Seeing her like this, Mak Dok Lang became even more mischievous, wanting to tease her further. Smiling wickedly, he said in a playful tone, "Call me good husband and I'll help you. How about that?" Qilin saw the frivolous attitude of Mak Dok Lang and became extremely angry. She flung her hand, pushing Mak Dok Lang outside and scolded, "Do you want to die?" Qilin's angry expression and sudden action made him step back in astonishment. Suddenly, a wave of pain struck, causing Qilin to widen her eyes in shock. Then Qilin held her stomach and collapsed to the ground, screaming in pain. It hurt too much. Seeing Qilin like that, Mak Dok Lang took advantage of the opportunity. He smiled and coaxed her, "Wife, if you really don't want to say it, I won't make it difficult for you anymore. But if you keep this up for a long time, your meridians might be damaged, and you may never be able to break through to the next realm." Hearing this, Qilin softly whispered, "Good husband," in a way that Mak Dok Lang found so adorable it nearly made him have a nosebleed. The next moment, Mak Dok Lang hurriedly pressed Qilin down to the ground, no longer holding back. It might be a bit rough, but it would help her break through. Qilin, shocked by Mak Dok Lang's sudden action, panicked and shouted, "Wait!" But how could MacDoc Lang miss such a good opportunity? Very quickly, Jilin let out a cry of ah. After a while, the system notification sounded. The female protagonist's favorability has increased from -30 to -29, rewarding one outfit card, which can manifest into any outfit the user desires. Hearing the system's message, MacDoc Lang smiled contentedly while putting on his clothes. Holding the card in his hand, MacDoc Lang smiled, thinking to himself, it seems that as her favorability increases, I'll be able to do more and more freely. Heh, not bad. Next time I'll find a chance to try this card. Looking up at the sky, MacDoc Lang thought to himself, next, I need to reach the final floor. Elsewhere, the group of cultivator disciples stepped out of the barrier and entered the city. Tae-Mac took out some grilled meat skewers and smiled as he called out to sell them, shouting, "Delicious grilled rabbit. If it's not good, you don't have to pay." A disciple saw this and grabbed one of the skewers from Tae-Mac's hand. He said, "Just in time, I'm starving." Seeing this, Lang Li hurriedly intervened. "Wait." Lang Li glanced over, sizing up Tae-Mac. Seeing this, Tae-Mac smiled and handed Lang Li a skewer of grilled meat. "Sir, why don't you try some?" Lang Li coldly said, "You're a demon, aren't you?" Hearing this, Tae-Mac froze in shock, realizing that this year there were more strong people than expected, even a Ling Tong master. Suddenly, the disciple who had been standing behind Lang Li clutched his stomach and cried out, "Ah!" Lang Li turned around in alarm. His face began to show some ferocious marks as he clutched his stomach and screamed in pain. Those around him rushed to support him. Tan Tu, what's wrong? Tan Tu could only hold his stomach and say, "My stomach." Seeing this, Tae-Mac laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha." Pointing at Tan Tu, Tae-Mac said, "You've been infected by my Tianko worm, and soon you'll become a puppet." Na-san smiled at this sight, stepped forward, and stroked her chin, saying, "Well done, Tae-Mac." Na-san continued, "I have to extract their souls to make new puppets." A disciple, hearing this, gulped in fear. Gulp. Immediately, Lang Li drew his sword and charged toward Tae-Mac and Na-san. At this moment, MacDoc Lang had just arrived at a different location. On the final floor, he saw a skeletal figure sitting on a throne. MacDoc Lang drew his sword, quietly observing the skeleton. Suddenly, at that moment, an old man appeared behind MacDoc Lang, startling him greatly. The old man said, "You haven't passed my trial yet, return." Hearing the old man's words, MacDoc Lang frowned, turning his head to look at him. "And what if I say no?" Seeing MacDoc Lang's attitude, the old man became extremely angry, his face darkening as the spiritual energy around him fluctuated. He gripped a weapon in his hand without MacDoc Lang noticing. Immediately, the old man slashed at MacDoc Lang, shouting, "If you won't leave, then die here." Seeing this, MacDoc Lang coldly drew his sword, and in an instant, blocked the old man's attack. After resisting, the old man tried to move behind MacDoc Lang for a sneak attack, but MacDoc Lang quickly noticed and glanced behind him. MacDoc Lang then crouched down, successfully dodging the black energy that aimed to ambush him. Seeing MacDoc Lang's impressive skills, the old man stroked his weapon and said, "Your strength is not bad, but to inherit my technique, you must have a heart devoid of mercy. If you cannot kill the 3 guardian dogs, you are unworthy of inheriting my technique." MacDoc Lang laughed. "I don't need your technique," he coldly said. Then he drew out a card, a cultivation boost card, raising his cultivation to out-of-body stage, 5th layer, for 40 seconds, with a recovery time of 1 day. MacDoc Lang used the card, and quickly, an abundant spiritual energy surrounded him. He smiled, silently assessing the old man. This old man is at the divine transformation stage, quite terrifying. But too bad, I can boost my cultivation. Seeing the series of actions and the changes in MacDoc Lang's cultivation, the old man seemed to realize something. He widened his eyes and, gripping his weapon, charged at MacDoc Lang. He shouted, "Out-of-body stage, 5th layer. I can't believe you hid your strength in this underground palace. Those fools outside are truly useless." He roared in anger. MacDoc Lang used only his sword to block the axe descending upon his body, gritting his teeth slightly. Then, MacDoc Lang stomped hard on the ground. He quickly delivered a kick to the old man's face, so fast that the old man couldn't dodge. With MacDoc Lang's kick, the old man was sent flying to the ground, causing an explosion that sent dust and debris flying everywhere. After taking the blow from MacDoc Lang, the old man gritted his teeth and slowly opened his mouth, this power. But soon after, the old man was able to stand back up. The fact that the old man could still stand surprised MacDoc Lang. He widened his eyes in disbelief, silently observing. Then he narrowed his eyes. The old man standing before MacDoc Lang moved with unimaginable speed, and in an instant, he was beside him. He swung his weapon, intending to assassinate MacDoc Lang, but MacDoc Lang quickly sensed it. The old man let out a cry. His neck was now being tightly gripped by MacDoc Lang. Trembling, he grasped at MacDoc Lang's arm and said, "Release me, and I'll give you the technique." Hearing his words, MacDoc Lang smiled coldly. "I already said, I don't need your technique." MacDoc Lang tightened his grip, choking the old man, who cried out, "Do you really want to?" Before the old man could finish speaking, MacDoc Lang crushed his throat in an instant. The time for the cultivation boost ended, and the system's notification sounded at the same time. Holding the old man's weapon in his hand, MacDoc Lang smiled. So this is the pinnacle of the divine transformation stage? Not as strong as I thought, maybe because he only had his spiritual form left, he mused. Suddenly, in front of Macdoc Lang, black mist began to gather. From within the black mist, the old man reappeared, now in a half-skeletal form. He reached out with his now skeletal arm. It's been 400 years since anyone made it this far. Seeing the old man's face, the one he had just defeated, Macdoc Lang was utterly shocked and startled. He exclaimed, "What?" Macdoc Lang immediately gripped his weapon, cursing, "Damn it, this old man is still alive." The old man smiled at Macdoc Lang's reaction, reaching his hand toward him, saying, "Come." The weapon in Macdoc Lang's hand flew toward the old man as he called for it. In Macdoc Lang's astonishment and shock, "My old friend," the old man said, as the weapon landed smoothly in his hand, smiling. Then he let out a shout, and countless streams of black energy surged toward him. Macdoc Lang braced himself against the sudden wave of demonic energy. "Return, this is my true power." Seeing the scene before him, Macdoc Lang thought to himself, so this old man is still alive. According to the original script, wasn't Lang Lead supposed to destroy his body and immediately retrieve the mark? But the plot changed, damn it. The old man looked at Macdoc Lang and said, "Boy, should I say you're lucky or unlucky? Nai truak mam Macdoc Lang lean zut hien mot botikat kong lo hin tan tu makai kwa lao. Lao ta noi teep, von di chikan mot gay no la tho men kwa lao fu de hon ton ket tu kroy. Chikam I mot matangwin the tren Thursday o day. Doi nua fu hop den kuthut song fat kwa ta. Nave, Macdoc Lang lean tu si jan choi the kan mi no, choi tau dung kong? Lao jia kia noi teep. Cho du nua den vi ky chan tien, and hung nua lai den cho ta hai vong wa. Macdoc Lang lean by kan take wa bo tikat kia tum chat le kin cho on vio kung gak nin. Lao ta noi teep. La ko the thwan and malai ko the tulian, nu ko the dot exe doc nua, lao fu chichan ko that song fap dai tan song biok den chan tien chiken. On mak kwa Macdoc Lang tiaron and sakpin. Mot kan rong tu vo than lin luk kwa Macdoc Lang zut hien kien lao jia kia giant min that ngo. Gan lua lin luk fatare tu ko the kwa Macdoc Lang and han chong fa hui kan te ti kat dang nam juhan. Lao jia kia thay ve ti lin kan gak va hong ha that tan kalen, long ui. Macdoc Lang them koi, sao du kem trong te tan kim kwa min, nain hang dap song mat dat. Lao jia, ong de la nua ma nua muan dot exe la ko the dot exe doc sa. Goen jiao and ky chan tienra de roy chet di. Nave, lao ta lin ti si jan, chi te veo Macdoc Lang, main gang kwang. Vo so luong makai kong lo nu dai dung bao ve le ko the kwa Macdoc Lang. Hak tui nai kwa ta si kong and gung ret di noi luk kwa nua. Hak tui bao busi chat che le ko the kwa Macdoc Lang. Koi kung nua esin get tho, chi du a veo nua kong the thodare. And hung lon hak tui bao ve le ko the kwa Macdoc Lang bat in jio tan dien. And hung lao ta chua kip noi het ka ti Macdoc Lang de fa hui doc hak tui kwa lao roy. Han ta chan kin tam gi, ve ma fa doc roy. And kim hop not, lin kai sung kwan ko the kwa Macdoc Lang dao dong. Trong long na tamgi, koko dian lana ko dia dang so, nu din nu ve ti fa no di la duck. Sao du, on lin lan lung no nu koi, din lao ta voy on mat sakbin, nu e va noit sai gi. Lao jia kia koi lan, nu e ve malai ko the lam duck nan kim hop not, dat kong tin noi, dung la kin lao fu en mo rong tam mat. Lao ta hung fan noi teep, nu on dat dan kan gian and kim hop not voy lin bao. Truak tien fi dung hopping gwin on va kai lin ma qua tren na not kung fi mat tram nam tam chi la nam durin lian. Tu nu con tre nu ve, rot kyok de lam doc the now. Sao du lao ta lin kem tan lo hai qua han lao vi fi Macdoc Lang.